Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS-Inform. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining me in the studio is John Bell. Now, John is a councilman on the Jasper City Council, but he's also the president of the Jasper Redevelopment Commission.
Correct.
And there is a project coming up called the Downtown Jasper Revitalization Project that there seems to be some confusion or maybe some misinformation that people have been getting, and we want to talk about that a little bit.
Right. Thank you, Bill, for the opportunity, because I'm trying to, this past month, going out to organizations and trying to visit media sources just to help educate on what the downtown project is, why we need to do it, talk about the project funding and how we can, how we can afford it with all the projects we have going on at one time. And so, yes, I'd like to, educate as much as we can and get everybody's feedback.
Well, let's first start. What is the Revitalization Project? What's going on?
Well, the main purpose of the Downtown Square Revitalization Project is replacing the infrastructure. We have aging water lines, stormwater lines that we need to replace, and is causing issues on the top surface. So that's the main purpose of that. Our streets have been put on hold since 2011. As far as our Jasper Street Department wanting to repave those, knowing that this project was going to be coming up, and so we didn't want to repave those and then have to do this. We want to do it all one time.
Because a lot of times I think we see what's on the surface, we see the pavement, that's the infrastructure. No, there's a whole lot more underneath it, and that's what we're talking about.
Right, correct.
Now, this is a grant that Jasper has applied for and received. So I guess, let's go to that question you said earlier. Jasper's got a lot of projects going on. Okay, is it too many projects? How can we afford to do so many projects?
Well, I'm an optimist guy, but I'm also realistic, and I look at the budgets and can we afford it and all those things going on, and it really depends, are you a glass half full or a glass half empty person. All these projects are multi-level funded as far as private donations, grants, city funded. It takes a combination of everything. And they're all kind of independently ran also. I mean, we have the park board doing the parklands project, and it was multi-funded. We had great support with that through the community, through the grants that we were able to get from that, and from the city support. So all that, and that's up and running. It's going to be phenomenal for the city. I'm very excited about that. I'm glad we got that going. Same thing with our cultural center. It's multi-funded. We have private investor for that. We have grants for that. We have the city helping out, and that's going to be a phenomenal project as well. We have the River Center going on, and that's mainly privately funded through the Boxer Grill and the development down there. But it's with a city partnership also that we're able to do that. But that's ran on its own, and we don't have to supervise that project for the most part either. So now we have the Downtown Revitalization Project, and to me it's the perfect time, because we can tie all that in together. The cultural center, the River Center down there, and the Courthouse Square. To me, it's the perfect time just because it'll all flow together. So not only is it a need from an infrastructure standpoint, I think it's just going to help tie it all together.
Okay. Now, there was talk about pavers that are going to be used, and is it the street, the sidewalks? I guess maybe the plan has changed a little bit. And then a lot of pavers I've seen don't look so good. And so I'm sure you've addressed that as well.
It is. That's a controversial topic, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to go out and educate people. The application of the pavers is the key, and we're trusting the experts. We hired Redelelopment out of Indianapolis, which initially, this project's been in the planning stages for a year and a half, and the city council came to the Redevelopment Commission, which I was on then, still am, and asked us to head this project up. So our first process was setting a committee together for the downtown, and then putting the project out for bid with a scope, and then getting an architectural engineering firm. So with that, we had 10 really qualified applicants. It was just impressive of all the architects and engineers around the Midwest that applied to be part of this job. We narrowed it down to 2. It took us about 2 months. We actually visited actual sites that they did, and ultimately, like I said, selected Redelelopment. this is kind of their sweet spot as far as doing revitalization projects around there. They've been all over the United States. They're currently doing Indianapolis Monument Circle. They've done the Cultural Trail in Indianapolis, and all that was done in pavers. And so they have over 30 years of experience in pavers. So a common question I get is, have I been to West Baden and seen those pavers? And of course everybody has. And that's not the application we're doing. It's compacted dirt, compacted aggregate. It's on 4 inches of concrete and then a layer of asphalt, and then the pavers go on there. So it's a very strong subsurface underneath the pavers, and that's the key of the application. And Huntingburg's doing the same thing. I mean, they just approved recently to do pavers in their streets and sidewalks, and I talked to Mayor Spinner and asked him about that, and he said the same thing right away. It's all about the application, and it is, and that's the big difference. And so there's clearly a lot of nightmares with pavers, but it was the installation and how they're put in. And so the pavers that we're proposing is going to be in the sidewalks only, and then in the parking spaces also. And the key with the parking spaces is that the pavers will be permeable, so that's part of the stormwater system. So the water will run off, go into the parking spaces, the permeable pavers go underneath and absorb into the ground. And then if we have the rain like we had a couple of weeks ago, this past week, there's holding tanks that they will be held in there and it'll dissipate over time. But it's a natural system, stormwater system. And then all around the square is going to be flush curbs, so everything will be smooth and ADA compliant all the way around. But the scope of the project, I should say, is around the square and 1 block off in each direction.
But am I wrong in that originally the street was also going to be pavers, but now that will not be the case?
Originally, the street was going to be pavers, and recently we originally were also going to do this in one phase of construction and try to start at the very beginning of the year and get done. Obviously, we have a hard stop at Strassenfest, so that shortens kind of the construction season that we know we need to be done by the end of July. Found out that's not going to be feasible to do it in one phase. So we're going to do it in 2 phases. Ideally, we would like to start in 2018, phase 1, which would be around the square, and then 2019 would be 1 block off. And in doing that, that adds cost, actually, because you're bidding out the project twice, you're doing some infrastructure work. We're going to do the infrastructure all the way 1 block off, but then we got to temporarily cover it up for a year, and then we got to put our surface back on. So with that, we decided to save some cost and take the pavers out of the streets. And again, there was, just with the concern, we just thought it was best from a money saving point and to try to help everybody's comfort level. Let's go with something pretty simple, but yet really aesthetically pleasing if you do the pavers. I mean, that really will set us apart. I think the thing I'll never forget is when we did one of our site visits, and one of the mayors was a newly elected mayor, and they were getting ready to do their downtown revitalization project, and they said he was proud because he cut costs out of the project, and what he did is he cut the pavers out of his project around the sidewalks and around his streets and everything. And so what he did was he did a little bit of colored concrete. He did some cuts in some concrete to kind of make it look like pavers, and it looked like somebody cut costs out of the project, and it looked like it was half done, and it looked like somebody was going to need to come back and finish the job. And we have, I think, 13 people on our downtown committee, and one of them was our councilman, and he was there, and he said, we want to make sure that we do this right the first time. We have one opportunity to do this. Let's make sure we do it right the Jasper way. It's going to be what we see for the next 50 years. And we can clearly do pavement in the streets and concrete in the sidewalks, and I mean, it looks terrible now. I mean, if you really look at we have 5 different, concrete and a little bit of pebble concrete, and we have pavements, and it's cracked all over, and it looks terrible. So, I mean, we can make it look immensely better just by doing the same thing. But again, trying to tie all the projects in, trying to make it a destination place, for Jasper, we want to make it a nice quality of place to live, and that's the overall arching goal of all the projects is our quality place to live. We have 1,000+ jobs that are unfilled because we don't have people living here, and we're trying to work on our housing. We're trying to create that quality of place to live. And Drew Klasik, who spoke at the city's convention up in Indianapolis the past 2 years, has a great quote, and he talks about how it's hard for cities and communities in Indiana to recruit people because we don't have a beach, we don't have mountains. It's hard. And Jasper, is a thriving community with great businesses and a lot of innovation. So it's even harder for us to get out to fill all those jobs. So it's important for us to create that quality place of live. And Drew's classic quote is, you either invest in your future or you're going to manage your decline. And I would like to invest in our future. I think it's important. And I think the investment that we have of clearly we need to do the infrastructure. What are we going to do on the top surface? We got one shot. Let's do it right.
Really, Jasper, when are all these projects going to be done? Because it's going to be like, wow, all of a sudden it's going to be a whole different place.
Oh, can you imagine what it's going to be like in just 2-3 years? I mean, the parklands, it's great because the parklands has a foundation that they're going to get done and open late next year. The River Center's under construction. They've already done their demolition and they're going to be an 18-month project, so to speak. So within 2 years, you're going to see an immense change. If we were able to do the downtown project and kick that off next year, you're looking at 1 year, you're going to see an incredible difference, in another 18 months from right now. And you have the cultural center that, they want to get started later this year, early next year. So again, I'm not sure what that project is, but say it's another 18-month project. In 2 years, Jasper is going to create a nice quality of place to live. I just hope we don't cut back and look like we've done a half-done project.
Now, 231 needs some work. Is there a tie-in there, or is that a whole different project?
The 231, they have water line and storm line issues too, which is causing some of the road issues. And so we were able to work with the state and say, hey, can you move up your repavement of 231? We have some real issues here. And so they have agreed to do that, and it's scheduled on 2018, next year, to replace the infrastructure there, which those actual infrastructure water lines are actually newer than what we have on the courthouse square. So courthouse square are 1930s, and I'm not sure about 231 when those are. I was just told they're newer, so whether it's 40s or 50s, I'm not really sure. But they're in dire need. They need to be replaced. Clearly ours do. You could ask any of the merchants around the square. They had the flood issues that some of us did in our basements and things, and they constantly have those water issues. And so there's no doubt we need to replace that, and then we just have the opportunity to do the right thing on the surface.
Now, one more question, as we're running out of time, and this is the question that everybody has, even though sometimes we just make up this question because we think we need to. Will my taxes go up?
Great question, and thank you for bringing that up and not letting me forget about that. Our taxes will not go up. This has nothing to do with taxes. Again, just like all the other successful projects started, this is multi-funded. Last year, we were able to apply for a $1 million grant from the state, who was encouraging all the cities throughout Indiana that they would give a matching grant if you replace your infrastructure, your roads, or your infrastructure. We had this project. We talked to them about that. We applied for $1 million, and we were able to get $1 million. So right now we have $2 million sitting in the bank. Now the only caveat to that is you have to show progress. You're actually supposed to be in construction in 2017, but we told them where we're at in the project, but you have to show progress in 2017 or you lose that $1 million. So no question, we need to move with part 2 of the Run to Ernstberger and continue with this project. But that's $2 million of the project. We're going to need to apply for a bond to help support that. And then we have the city utility budgets that, like I said, since 2011, we've been putting off repaving that. So part of the natural budget, we have over $1 million that we put in our roads and sidewalks every year. Street Department does a phenomenal job. Self-sufficient. They do a lot of our work, which saves us an incredible amount of money. Well, this is just going to be one of their projects, and 2018 and 2019 that goes, towards the cost of that project. So taxes have nothing to do with it. And the bonding is affordable because for the past 10 years, and I've looked at the finances of the city and the history, and what we have in the edit funds, which is the taxes we receive from the state, and we get about $1.9 million a year, and we try to budget only 90% of that is what the state recommends. So you don't even budget the full amount. We budget that amount, and then we typically don't spend everything we're going to do. So I mean, we're good German, conservative, financially strong community. And talking with the financial analysts, they say we don't see communities like yours with as strong as a balance sheet as you do. Our edit funds and our overall balance sheet has increased over the past 10 years. And now with because saving for these projects that we have coming up. So we're giving some to each of those projects, and then we're bonding some, and then we'll be able to clearly afford to have, just like a loan on your house. You're only going to loan to what you can afford. And we've looked at this from the city council standpoint of what can we bond, what can we afford to pay over loan payments, where we don't jeopardize any budgets for any of our utilities. And so it's financially, we're strong, we can afford to do it, and I'm very excited about the project.
John, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
One other thing, if somebody wants more information about this, is there a website?
There's a website, and we made a little one-page flyer that you're holding that we're trying to give to our merchants and trying to hand out at some of the presentations. But our website has all the pictures and the history, and again, it's been going on 18 months, so there's a lot of information. But JasperCourthouseSquare.com. Okay. JasperCourthouseSquare.com.
All right, John, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, Bill.
We have had as our guest John Bell. He is the president of the Jasper Redevelopment Commission and also a member of the Jasper City Council. Thank you for watching WJTS Inform. We're local people watching local people.